Before CanJam Singapore 2024, I didn't even know Prismatica was an IEM or who Ice Labs was as a brand. Since hearing them at that show and bringing them on board, I haven't really been able to stop talking about them. Let's go a little bit further into why that is. Hey everybody, I'm Matthew from Bloom Audio, and today we're going to be taking a look at Ice Lab's Prismatica, an IEM that looks to deliver a high-octane and energetic sound signature backed by an all-balanced armature design. Prismatica comes in at $899, a price bracket that has grown more and more competitive in recent months, especially here at Bloom with the arrival of Supernova, of course now with Prismatica, and with the king of the sub 1000 price bracket, the Monarch MKIII. To first show how Prismatica separates itself from the pack, we'll be starting off with build and design, because I think Prismatica is simply beautiful and extremely well built. With its all-metal shell, Prismatica both looks and feels very illustrious. The overall design elements and faceplate of Prismatica is attractive to the eye without drawing too much attention to itself. I think it's low-key enough to have kind of a minimal look while also still standing out from the crowd. Achieving long listening sessions was easy with Prismatica, and they mostly just disappeared in my ear, sealed really great, and was just overall very comfortable. Moving on over to the stock cable, I actually have to say this is one of my favorites in the sub $1,000 price bracket. It feels extremely premium, it looks and complements Prismatica extremely well, and has little to no memory to it. And the little piece that spins on the connecting end of the cable, it's kind of fun to play with, and my smooth brain kind of just enjoyed fidgeting with it, so I guess that's cool too. That was a good one. Small price to pay for fidget spinner. The case is also extremely durable and well built. It's an all aluminum case. It has these screws on it that kind of makes it look more substantial than I think it actually is. I don't know if these are just for show or if they really do hold the case together. Either way, it looks great, it feels great, and it's definitely going to be a good protectant of the IEMs themselves. The included stock tips give you your choice of straight silicone or a foam and silicone hybrid, which is pretty nice to have. I've seen these tips include in the Radon 6 package as well. It seems like they're kind of going for a Symbio-like ear tip. I think the hybrid tips are cool to include. I didn't use them personally. I believe in SpinFit Omni supremacy. So if you're into a hybrid tip, might be nice to have. As for me, I'm gonna stick with what I got. Well, what is a great IEM package without great sound? Nothing. It's nothing. No, but seriously, we do have objective sound, and we have a graph provided none other than the man himself, Critical and Hangout Audio. Thank you guys so much for letting me use this graph. I think it's the only one on Prismatica to date, so I really do appreciate you letting me use it today. There is another graph out there on the Prismatica Gold in a great write-up on hifi that I have linked down below. If you want to go read that, I highly encourage you to do so. But Prismatica Gold was basically a slight deviation from Prismatica stock that we have here today. It shipped with an all-gold cable, and it also had an all-gold colorway. It was an extremely limited run, and it has been long sold out. So again, Critical and Hangout Audio, thank you guys so much for letting me use your graph. I kind of feel weird shouting you guys out considering you surpassed us in subs in like 2 weeks. So I feel like I'm not bringing anyone new to your site, but if you don't know about Critical, I don't even know what to say at this point. I have the graph on my phone, you have the graph on your screen. Prismatica is definitely a different listen than what I've tried before. When speaking with Ice Tongue in Singapore, he definitely emphasized that he likes EDM and just wants an energetic listen and a sound signature that he himself wants to listen to. I feel like he definitely achieved that here with Prismatica. So starting off in the sub bass, I feel like this graph is deceiving me, because there is just way more growl and way more rumble here than I feel like what this graph presents. It is extremely thick and weighty down there, and if you feel like you're not getting it, I'd highly encourage you to tip roll. It wasn't until the Omni that I really felt like Prismatica's low end came alive. So if you feel like you're not getting it, again, please tip roll until that bass is just smacking you in your face. The mid bass here, it's graphed well. That is an accurate presentation of how much hit and slam is in this IEM. It's so much fun. I absolutely love the amount of impact that's in this IEM. So definitely, probably my favorite part of the sound signature. Actually, not even probably, it is my favorite part of the sound signature. So now in the lower mids, there was definitely a little bit of recession to make up for that absolute monster of a mid bass. And I feel like you're not missing out on note weight here. The note weight is incredibly thick, it's incredibly rich. So even though those lower mids do go down a little bit, I feel like there is still an overwhelming amount of thickness and richness to the sound signature that doesn't feel like you're missing out on too much there. For the upper mid-range, you do get that little bump. I feel like this brings vocals just a little bit forward to kind of bring it out from that monstrous mid-bass, and it does it really well because if there wasn't that slight emphasis there, I think they just get drowned out for sure. And I'm really glad the vocals were presented this way because Prismatica's vocals are incredibly well presented, and we're to get a little bit more into that, of course, in subjective sound. So as for the treble, I do feel like this is probably the weakest link of Prismatica's sound signature. I don't think it's bad by any means. I don't think it's great though. I think it suffices. You don't get a ton of extension. You don't really get a ton of air here. You just get enough. And I feel like that's not a bad thing for what Prismatica offers in the low end and in the mids. But I do think this could be the portion of the sound signature that may turn some folks off. So if you're looking for something that's extremely resolving or technically proficient up top, this most likely won't be the set for you, but I do think it suffices in the top end a good amount. So with objective sound out of the way, where does that leave my subjective thoughts? Good question. One that you didn't ask. I asked myself. You didn't even ask for this video. I'm just talking and expecting you to watch it. How selfish of me. Prismatica presents an ultra-aggressive sound signature that I really would not have suspected from an all-balanced armature design. In the low end, you really do just get incredible growl and really a lot of rumble from the sub-bass, paired with a mid-bass that's just coming at you with incredible slam and attack. Now, if that doesn't sound like your thing, it may not be. But I do highly encourage you, regardless, to take a listen when you can. These will be displayed at both CanJam SoCal and CanJam Dallas of this year. So stop by, say hi, grab a swag bag, and take a listen. What these balanced armatures are able to do in the low end just kind of boggles my mind still from my first listen in CanJam Singapore to now. I've been listening to an ensemble named Kukuraku? Let's fact check it, why not? Dude, how do I use this website? Kukoroko. I've been listening to them a lot, and they have absolutely fantastic bass tones. And just for the most part, they just come with such incredible thickness and weight to them that I think Prismatica just does an excellent job in portraying. I don't feel like it ever becomes enough where you're just left only getting those bass tones. I just think they offer an exceptional contrast to where you really just gain a great amount of detail and a great amount of thickness to it that makes it incredibly fun and engaging. Jack Marlowe's Taste Like the 90s in specific was an album that I just kept revisiting to in my time with Prismatica, and I probably had over a dozen listens of that album through and through, and it was just simply amazing each and every time. Tell Me Where Your Heart Is was a track that just absolutely shined with Prismatica. You just get incredible thump and hit, and everything just comes together, and you're really just left with such a fun listen. It's incredibly dynamic, and if you do want to tone back the dynamics a little bit, I did a ton of source swapping DC Elite, Quest Style M15, DX180, TA22, DX260, D16 Taipan. The list goes on. I just wanted to listen to this IEM with everything. I really thought Tubes and the Cayenne N3 Ultra, a tube-based DAP in particular, just really toned down the dynamics just a little bit with Prismatica and just made for a fantastic listen. Whether it be acoustic guitar plucks, whether it be the hard-hitting 808s or rap music, anything really just sound fantastic with this pairing, and I just simply loved the two in combination. Moving into the mids, I thought electric guitars and vocals in specific were just absolutely brought to life by Prismatica. I listened to a ton of rock music, as I usually do in my listening sessions, but especially with Prismatica here. I thought Holy Waters' Psalms album, again, all the way top to bottom, was just simply fantastic. I thought the really rich and weighty guitar and his vocals in specific were just captured incredibly well with Prismatica. All these different contrasting elements of the hit of the kick drum, the electric guitar that is just squealing, and the vocals that are very engaging and also just kind of emotional in this album really was done extremely well with Prismatica's sound signature, and one I couldn't get enough of. And now with the treble that I thought may have been Prismatica's weakest point in the sound signature, I do have to say, at least it wasn't overly fatiguing. There wasn't a point in time where I just felt like, okay, let's wrap it up, put these back in the demo cab, I'll go to something else. No, I felt like I could go hours deep with Prismatica and really just enjoy it from the moment I started my listening session to the moment I ended it. Again, if you're looking for something very technically proficient or well extended in this regard, it's just not that. And I don't really think that's a bad thing here. With such an aggressive sound signature like this one, I think too hot of a treble would just be too much, and you just have this incredibly thick low end paired with this treble that's just coming at you with so much detail and so much extension that it would just be too much, too in your face, too forward, and just really not digestible. I think there is a good amount of detail here. There's a good amount of resolution up top that doesn't leave you wanting too much more. You can maybe get a little bit more zest, a little bit more zing, but for the most part, I actually think it's captured pretty well here, and for the majority of listeners, I think it will suffice in this regard. On a track like Love You Too from the Beatles' hit album, I could say like every album of theirs is a hit, so I don't even know why I'm saying their hit album. That track in particular is a good highlight for Prismatica's top end that doesn't go overly deep, doesn't sound too recessed, just a good amount of treble detail, and really portrays what it's able to do in the top end. But as for the spatial imaging and overall layering of the mix, I think Prismatica does do a good job in this regard and almost kind of sneaks up on you in some aspects. A track like Planet Caravan from Black Sabbath's Paranoid album, you just get this very widespread amount of different elements within the track, like the bongos that are just kind of going back and forth between the left and right, the electric guitar that's a little bit faded out into the right of the image, and the vocals that lean slightly a little bit left just sound really well separated and very spacious in this regard. Soundstage and imaging and IEMs is just really tough to elaborate on to begin with, but I do think with the amount of contrasting elements in Prismatica's frequency response, you do get an image that's decently well spaced out and spread out for the most part. Do I think it's super wide? Do I think it's the most three-dimensional in this price bracket? No, I don't. I think it gets the job done. I think it does present something that feels both natural and well articulated without being overly exaggerated or dramatized. So, being priced at $899, what does it stack up against? Well, I'm going to pit it up against the king in this price bracket, the Monarch MKIII. Now, the Monarch MKIII is a tough task for Prismatica. Monarch MKIII has 2 dynamic drivers, 6 balance armatures, and also 2 E-stats up top. But my ear was pretty surprised at the differences between the two, and they differed in ways that I really didn't expect. In the low end, I kind of expected MKIII to come out the winner here, but actually, it didn't. Some of my rap test tracks that include some mixes from Playboi Carti and also the Notorious B.I.G. was just a little bit more fun with Prismatica, and while I do think it was exaggerated and a little bit more aggressive, it never got to the point where it was unrealistic or too much to handle. So while Monarch MKIII may have been a little bit more extended or realistic in this regard, Prismatica was just more fun, and it just had me reaching back each and every time to get that sense of engagement back in my listening tracks. The mids felt a little bit better articulated and more natural on the Monarch MKIII. The upper mids are probably a little bit better seated on the Monarch MKIII than they are in Prismatica, though I am a little bit of a vocal fiend, so Prismatica's slight emphasis there and slight recession in the Monarch MKIII in contrast to the MK2 was something that I actually missed out on with the MK2 or the Prismatica. And moving into the treble, this is where Monarch MKIII really shows its all-rounder capabilities and definitely outpaced Prismatica. MK3's treble is just better resolving, it's more extended, it's more natural and well articulated, where I just feel like Prismatica's isn't. So this is where the two, I think, really differ. While Prismatica's more of a specialist in some regard, Monarch MKIII I do think is the better all-arounder in general. Monarch MKIII presents a sound signature that is upbeat, it is lively, but it's very coherent all around, where Prismatica is more of a specialist in the low end, really just has this very in-your-face and aggressive sound signature, but doesn't really have that resolving and all-rounder ability like Monarch MKIII does. So what do we learn here in the comparison? If you're just looking for something bombastic and very filled out and rich in the low end, I do think the Prismatica actually beats out Monarch MKIII there. In the mids, if you're just looking for something a little bit more natural and well articulated, I think the Monarch MKIII does it just a little bit better here, but Prismatica is not far behind. In the treble, we have a clear and decisive winner here, and that's definitely the Monarch MKIII. It's more resolving, better articulated, and just richer in general. If you're looking for more of an all-rounder, Monarch MKIII is probably the pick for you, but if you're looking for a specialist in other regards like the bass and note weight, I do think Prismatica actually could be a better fit for you there. Prismatica is unique. It's different in its approach. With so much different research being poured into these tuning targets, it's absolutely great to see all these different IEMs come out that appease so many different listeners. But on the contrary, it's also incredibly fun to get something that's different and takes a lot of risks in its sound signature. I think that's just what I fell in love with about Prismatica. It's different, it goes against the grain, it takes risks. But at the end of the day, it has this super aggressive sound signature that I just think is so fun and I just can't get enough of. So while Prismatica was never on my radar before, it certainly is now, and it's an IEM that I continue to reach for each and every time I can. Thanks so much for watching. You can check out Prismatica and a lot of other great products at bloomaudio.com. I know a lot of people haven't checked out Prismatica up until this point, so if you want to learn more about it in a more intimate setting, feel free to hit us up at hello@bloomaudio.com or drop into a live chat. Me and my colleagues are here, ready and willing to help in any way we can. Be sure to like and subscribe, as we'll be back soon with more high-fidelity audio content.